I'm glad you brought up Xbox because I kind of wanted to talk about this. I mean, we want to get to the main event, I guess, but I do want to talk about Xbox in the sense of it's weird. They had this whole campaign that just came out called "This is an Xbox." This is an Xbox. They're going full like third party. It's very strange. They we talked about this last podcast, but they have definitely buried the hatchet with like, yes, we have taught our gamers to not buy our games. So we are telling them to buy them on other platforms.
None of their proprietary stuff. I think they've kind of given up on their console war with Sony.
And this is interesting because I feel like they're going to try something different, which is the whole handheld stuff, which I do want to get into in just a second here, but let's go back a second. Xbox, David and Frankie, like we all know this. The reason they died out was because of 2013 when they screwed up and were selling the Xbox One for $500 with the Kinect and nobody wanted it, even though the technology was far advanced more than it's because remember, this is 2012 technology. And you telling me about that like voice isolation stuff reminds me of like Discord, which wasn't even a huge thing in 2012 and 2013. So they were ahead of their game. So it just bums me out that, I mean, it took one generation for them to give up, basically.
Right.
Because even in 2017, when my hope was like, oh, we're going to get a new console in the next couple of years, that'll rejuvenate it.
There's already rumors about a PS6, but there's nothing going on about next Xbox is kind of.
Well, I'm going to get into it in just a sec, but like the 2017, I'm like, yeah, the games are coming 2018. Okay, the games are coming 2019. And by 2020, I kind of gave up and I'm like, okay, yeah, they're just mulling around, buying studios, trying to figure something out, but they just don't have good leadership is, I think, my main takeaway. I like Phil Spencer a lot and the way he carries himself and his personality, but
he's a politician for video
middle
games.
Management that he has beneath him is horrible. Like you look at stuff like Redfall, you look at stuff like Arcane, you look at all these different examples of failure after failure after failure. And even stuff like Sea of Thieves when it came out, like that wasn't like they basically, the only reason that game still exists is because Game Pass launched and that game would not survive without that. But now it's a great game, but it just took them 7 years to finish it.
I mean, we just talked about No Man's Sky, so
same thing. Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
But Game Pass is part of the problem, right? The gaming industry, we're going to broaden back up just a little bit. That's part of the problem is they're selling themselves short, and the people that sign on or, you know, Microsoft owns, they're losing that revenue. So then they're going to throw in microtransactions. And we all know how much I freaking love microtransactions.
Well, also like, I was listening to, speaking of Sacred Symbols, I was listening to their podcast and the guy, when Hellblade came out, bought Game Pass, played Hellblade for however long it was like 5 hours, super short. And then he literally the next day canceled it and they gave him his money back. He's like, all right, I'm going to not do this. And they's like, okay, cool, fine. Here's your money. Like they don't care. It's like,
I mean, you have a company like Microsoft that is behind them, and it really is just a blip on the map for them, if at all. But
I think also the Activision thing, it's been so far a financial blessing to them in the sense of they're more profitable in a sense, but that was $44 gajillion worth of like, what was it 69.5 billion or whatever. And then I think 75 is the final number for interest. It's like, holy crap. Like that's half at the time when they were 2 years ago going to purchase it. That's half of Microsoft's full worth was Activision purchase. And it's like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah.
So I guess we'll see what happens, but I feel like they have all these pieces set up, especially with now the word on the street is the streets, David, they're talking are
back to his rumor mill.
Well, they've already confirmed they're going to working on the next console and we don't know when that's coming out. The theory is 2026. And we talked on this last podcast where the theory is they're going to launch an Xbox and also a handheld, like the Steam Deck, basically.
I have heard the rumors about the Xbox, and I don't think they're launching it. My guess is they're going to partner with someone.
Well, that's what they already did.
Like Lenovo, MSI, someone who's already got something in there. They're doing testing on their shit, and then when Xbox comes around, they'll have something a little more polished.
Like the issue with my Steam Deck that I have, and I love my Steam Deck, is it doesn't have like everything on it. You can't play don't kill me, guys. You can't play Fortnite on it. Okay. That kind of sucks.
Get out. We're kicking you off the podcast.
Leave me alone. So you can't play any of the Epic Store games on there. There's ways to get around it and hack into an install, but you can't have like the Epic Games Launcher or any of the Microsoft stuff. So that's kind of like what you're missing. And the partnerships you're talking about has remedied that with the ROG Ally, the Legion Go, and whatever else they've kind of partnered with too.
Yeah, the problem is that just like the ability to do it is there, because I've been following a sort of indie project which is trying to port Linux to Apple's ARM chips.
You've been digging into this a lot, actually.
And so just now the OS has now that the OS that they developed now ships with the ability to run the Windows version of Steam like right out of the box.
Wow.
And so it can run Proton, and you can basically play. I mean, it's not nearly as smooth of an experience because it's still in very much like really like early development stages, but basically it has all the capabilities of the Steam Deck because that's what it uses is Proton,
David,
to play games. So the technology's there.
Right.
It's just nobody apparently in these companies gives a crap enough to make it happen.
David, I'm very angry with you.
What?
You knew about this information, and yet you still refuse to play Helldivers with me.
Wait. You want to be mad at somebody. You have a spare computer not 3 feet from me.
I know.
You have a gaming computer somewhere over that way and about 47 extra consoles and stuff in your house. And you're mad that your Steam Deck can't play Fortnite?
No.
If anybody's mad at anybody, I'm mad at you.
I'm not. Okay, look. I'm not mad that it doesn't play Fortnite. I'm fine with that. I'm just kind of sharing what the internet has been like preaching the last year or so.
Stop listening to your rumor mill. They're getting in your ear.
So anyway, I feel like the reason why I bring it up is because they are setting things up to do something big, probably with another handheld. And the way they already have it is you have the Xbox Series X and the S, right? What if they do this instead of the S, which is the affordable option, and the X, which is the beefy option? They do a beefy option and the handheld. So that'll be, for developers, the bottleneck of that new generation.
Would finally be a good move, because right now, the current gen, the whole reason Game Pass has been faltering since the 1 series into the Series XS versions, right? That was a really bad way to announce that. Is a lot
Extra
of games can't operate on the S the way they do on X.
In
For
fact,
example, a really big game, Baldur's Gate 3, that was their freaking hiccup.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like a minor hiccup that they were eventually what did it delay it an extra like 8 months?
Yeah,
and it was already delayed from the PlayStation drop.
Yeah, the
because
PS5 version came out last year in like July or something.
Right. And then the early
they
access
announced
on
it
Steam.
like on Christmas during Last Game Awards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not the only game. It's one of the biggest games, which is still an indie developer, which just happened to get a really good game. We're gonna at some point touch the whole game. I'm just gonna send you that video. I don't really care for the YouTuber, but his points are 100% valid.
Yeah.
They're really good points, and they kind of flesh everything out as far as like the state of gaming.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I mean
That's all good.
that's honestly bad. If they were having that much trouble getting it to work on the Xbox Series S, because I could play Baldur's Gate 3 on my MacBook.
On your ARM chip, bro. Like, that's ridiculous. And I looked at the specs recently. I never knew this, but the Series S has even less, I think, video memory than the One X does.
Yep.
And a lower clock speed.
Yep.
Of the newer CPU generation and GPU generation that AMD has in the new hardware, but it has like less of a lot of different things to get to that price point.
And I know they're from my point of view, their point of view was if we can undercut PlayStation or Switch, or at least be competitive with the Switch price point, right? We can get more of our consoles in other people's hands, but then you're not developing a quality product. You're just shoving shit down people's throats.
Yeah, like I was so disappointed when I heard about Hellblade 2 this year, because I was so hyped for that game. I loved the first one. When I heard they bought Ninja Theory, I'm like, all right, just do what they want. And they did, and apparently they let them do a little bit too much of what they wanted. and got a little complacent in my opinion because apparently the story's really bad in the new one, and it's only like, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I was expecting more from a sequel. The first game you can get done about 6-ish hours. The new one you can get done in less than 5. And I'm like, really, guys? And the story's not here. It's not even that good. It's a graphical showcase, but it's not why I play Hellblade. I play it because I love the concept of this Nordic chick avenging her husband and going after a Norse god. That sounds freaking badass, and I want to play that. And the first one was just that. But the second one, I heard nothing but disappointment from it. But I'm intrigued to try it with Game Pass. So we'll see what happens with that. But
saving grace of Game Pass, you don't have to pay for it.
Yeah, well, I set a timer the week in April that it expires. Because to get the extra month, I had to turn on auto renewal.
Oh.
And so I'm just going to cancel it and enjoy it for what it is. So, but yeah, Xbox, they tried this generation with the S. You're right, Frankie. And I feel like they're going to try the similar thing with the handheld next one.
But that might be, it's the same and different.
Yes, correct. Because I don't think we're going to get the PS6 probably 2027, 2028. Like, I don't think it's coming. No, because
the Pro is their midlife cycle. They did it with, the 4.
Yeah.
They did their midlife refresh with the 3. Like, it's very typical of Sony.
Yeah.
And so, they've been out. When did the PS5 come out? About 3-4 years ago?
2020.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we got another 4 years till you hit 2027, 2028.
Yeah, because PS Pro was only 3 years, I think, after the PS4, and that was 2016, and I didn't get mine. I think it was 2018, it was 2019 I got mine, so I got it really late. But that's a great console, and hopefully Pro is somewhat the same later on. And right now it's not that great, but later on I'm sure she'll be good. Yeah. But it's interesting because you have them. Also, some of the interesting things with Sony is that they're going to take their time because they're trouncing Microsoft. Like, they're going to just take their time and do their things. And I'm starting to see, in the last 2 years, I've started to see more behavior from Sony that echoes back to the PS3 days, unfortunately, in terms of cockiness, than I've seen the whole PS4 generation. Well, and that has me worried, but I feel like they're smart enough to not go back to that kind of mindset.
You would think, but they're still a corporation, and I'm a Sony fanboy, and they can still do stupid stuff.
Yeah.
But
I hear you crap on them all the time.
Yeah, all the time.
They're great, but
they just, the Vita was great. It could have been better, and they just cut off support. I mean, that kind of sucks because the PSP was probably the greatest handheld ever, and it could be modded. Riley still mods the crap out of his. He has like Windows 98 on there and ROMs and stuff. Like,
that's awesome, dude.
It's cool to see my little me do stupid nerdy stuff like that. But
that's awesome, dude.
It's I think they don't see immediate success in something, and they're like, let's pull back. But I think with Xbox essentially bowing out and not competing in the consoles, we're gonna get Sony being cocky, and they're gonna do stupid shit because nothing is better in a free market than competition.
Exactly.
If you don't have competition, then you have a monopoly, which means we're gonna be stuck with whatever Sony gives us. And they are hit and miss on what their people want, and so they might do something right. They could also equally do something stupid.
Yeah, I mean, with the Switch coming out for sure next year, like, I don't see it coming out any later than that.
And Samsung's doing it with their chip and graphics thing, which they, I think, partnered with NVIDIA.
What do you mean? Like the the process of developing it?
The processor that they're using is
well, they used that in the last Switch. It was NVIDIA and Samsung partnered up, and they did that. Yeah.
Tegra. Oh, okay.
Yeah, the Tegra. Yeah, and then now this is the new version. But so that's coming out next year, and then theoretically 2026 we'll get like Xbox and maybe Steam Deck too, because that would be really that'd line up with what Valve has said, where they said we're not going to do another Steam Deck until we get a good generational lift, which is about 2 years away. They said that this year or last year, I think. So 2026 kind of lines up with that as well. And with the Switch being on the market for a year at that point, more competition is going to come in. Sales are going to go up. For some reason, GameStop will probably live again, and keep living. And then we're going to get Sony. And I feel like Sony's going to kind of go for the handheld as well. And my laptop just died, so I'm going to plug it in. But what were you going to say?
They've been doing active support for their portal. And as a fanboy, I was not a fan of having just a remote play screen. with the DualSense controller, but it seems to be getting active support. It's got now cloud gaming on there. I was actually watching a video on my lunch today, and the guy was like, dude, 4.01 is fantastic. The improvements on it, the performance on it, the cloud gaming. He was like, my one gripe is that you can't stream your own games from your library without your PlayStation. So like I'd have to load it on my PlayStation and mirror essentially, or cast it.
Yeah. And I think they're going to work on that too, because I know that, I mean, the technology's there. They can totally do it with, Microsoft does it, NVIDIA does it. So they have the tech, but I think it's only a matter of time before.
Cause didn't they buy Gaikai back in end of PS3, early PS4?
Yeah, they bought them. And then 2 years ago, I think they partnered with Microsoft to get Azure servers access to those. So,
oh, balls. I'm going to tell you,
that technology from Gaikai is still there, though.
Okay. Because I was going to say, I use Xbox X gaming cloud bullshit right on my One X when it first came out. And I have good internet at my house.
Yeah, you do.
And it was trash.
Yeah, it's not good.
I was hardwired into my modem, and it was still blocky and crap. Like, I've streamed PS5 games on my PlayStation and it runs super smooth. Don't get me wrong. There's every once in a while, there's a little hiccup, and that's just the internet being the internet. But like overall, like 4K.
It's crazy how we're there.
Yeah.
I thought we would take another 5 years to get there.
Like, don't put it on Microsoft.
No, I'm not saying that.
No. I'm telling Sony, don't put it on Microsoft, because I don't know where they servers
we're using. Those Americans.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're gonna use any Microsoft technology, I guess the server's a safe bet, because like Windows servers basically power everything.
Yeah, basically, and Amazon servers too. I mean, that's what I think. It's what 90% of Amazon servers are Amazon, or Netflix servers are Amazon Azure server. What's it called? Amazon
Web Services.
Web Services.
But they all use Linux, so MacBook. Man.
Exactly, which
that's
makes
the
me
right
very
Unix
excited.
kernel you were supposed to use.
Which makes me excited for Valve, because they have been super open with the community. They're working on the Steam Deck. They put driver updates. Me and David, I think or you and me were talking about it. Somebody I was talking to, where they release drivers specifically for the Steam Deck if you install Windows on it. Yeah, and I'm like, that's awesome. I can't believe Microsoft is doing that with Valve and working together on that.
Also, Windows now has Linux as its subsystem running half of its stuff. So like,
Unix. Yep. So it's like, it's even more crazy now. Yeah. So